What's up, everyone? Ron Carter here, and
Brian Marsolais.
welcome to the Mind Design Podcast, episode 17. We talk about mindset, transformation, overcoming fears, and a little bit of anything and everything in between, because that all just weaves into everything.
Yeah. Speaking of fears, Mr. Carter
Yeah,
had some fears that he shook off and experienced the greatness behind that fear.
yeah, something really cool that happened on Friday. So we've talked about surfing and getting out in the water on this podcast a lot because Brian likes to ride stand-up paddleboard out there, and I ride a bodyboard. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a boogie board. But it's funny. I heard a surfer say this once. Somebody asked like, "What's the difference between bodyboarding and boogie boarding?" And the surfer's like, "A bodyboarder is basically a boogie boarder who takes himself seriously."
That's so funny because I'll tell you what I heard from a surfer before. He says, "Yeah, paddle boarders are just old guys trying to stay on the surf." Kind of true.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
and those sayings would be so funny if there wasn't some truth in them. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I am. I have all this gear. I have like my fins and I have multiple boards now, and so
yeah.
yeah. But so I started doing this a while ago, and I had this fear of being like in the ocean past where I can touch. And I had to start overcoming this fear because I got clobbered by a wave out one day. I would just stand waist deep, like most boogie boarders, like waist deep in the water till a wave comes, push off the ground with my feet, and start going and let the wave catch me. Well, one day I went out there when there was a surf report, like a surf advisory, right, saying, "Hey, don't
Hmm.
go in the water. The waves are big." And I went out there trying to do that, standing in waist deep water to catch these big waves. And long story short, the ocean kicked my ass, and I got my face drug across the bottom of the floor, got all like sandpapered up on my face,
Hmm.
and then I learned that well, you're supposed to go out in deep water and paddle to catch these waves, just like what you see surfers do. And that's when I became a bodyboarder instead of a boogie boarder. I started buying gear and taking myself seriously and trying, but I was still afraid to go out past where I can touch. And so I've overcome that fear, and especially over the last couple months, and been going out there. And on Friday, I went out in the water and was out there, and something really cool happened. I was one of my fears of being out there past where I can touch is like what's in the water. I'm in California. There's great whites everywhere. There's a whole bunch of other stuff, and so I go out there, and I was about to come in. I'd already been in the water for a couple hours, and I was sitting on the shore, just like catching my breath after catching a wave in. And I see these two other bodyboarders like pull up, and they got their fins on, and they're about to get in the water. And I was like, "Oh, cool! Like I'll go out again." Um, and so they're paddling out, and the thing that made me want to go out again is one of them was like 70 years old, and the other guy was maybe like 50. It looked like it might be father and son. And I see like the
Are you
70 year
sure?
old,
I mean, 70, really?
seriously, like he was walking
Wow.
like this, right? Like, but then he gets in the water and he's like a fish and he's duck diving the waves. He's duck diving under every wave. And the 50-year-old is jumping off his board and just ditching his board and going underwater for every wave. And I see the 70-year-old
Ah.
make it out there like no problem. And I was like, all right, stop being a pussy, Ron, and just go back out the water. You can do it, even though you're tired. So I go out there and I'm really glad I did. I gave them some space, like what you're supposed to do, but I went out, and as soon as I get past all the breaking waves, I'm just like catching my breath, and I'm like laying on my board, and I look to my left. Actually, what happens is I was looking out towards the horizon for any swells coming in, and I hear this sound. I hear this, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" And I look to my left where it was coming from, and I see maybe about 20 feet to my left, but 5 feet in front of me, I see two fins coming up out of the surface, and they're going from left to right. And I knew that it was dolphins because it was just one fin and not two, right? When you see two fins in a row, that's how you know that's probably a shark. It's the fin in the middle and then their tail, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but when you see just one in a hump like that, you know it's a dolphin. And so I saw two of them parallel, and that usually you don't see two sharks doing that. The dolphins do, right? And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was like, oh, super cool. I was like, wait, they're going from left to right. They're gonna pass right in front of me. And I was like, holy crap. So I just stay still. I lay down on my board and I'm looking because I'm waiting to see them take another breath and see them kind of pass. I'm thinking maybe like 2 arms lengths in front of me is where they're gonna pass me. And I'm looking, and then the next time it comes up, instead of going from left to right, it's headed like one comes up and it's headed straight for me. I see it come up and go back down. Like they saw me too
Hmm.
and decided that it wanted to come check me out, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh crap!" Like because these things are a lot bigger than you think. You see
Yeah,
them from
yeah.
like the sand, and you're like, "Oh, cool dog." But when you're out there, like right next to him, I was like, "This thing is big." It's like I'm 6 foot, and it's like about the length of me, right? Maybe even a little bit bigger. And so it comes up. Now it's probably like 10 feet away from me. It comes up, it goes back underwater. I'm in California, can't see anything in the water. So I just see it when it comes up. And I'm like, just still laying there. And then I look at the other one because there was two. I only see one coming at me. And I'm like, where's the other one? The other one surfaces maybe 5 feet in front of me, but it's still going left to right. And I was like, whoa, they're like all around me. And I yelled to the other boogie boarders. I was like, hey, you guys see these dolphins over here? Because then I start seeing one like surfaces literally right in front of me, maybe an arm's length in front of me, but it's going away from me. And I'm like, okay, cool, like they're leaving. And but as soon as that one surfaces and gets some air, another one comes from the other direction, and it's literally like right in front of me. Like I'm laying on my board, holding my board, my face towards the edge of my board, and I could have reached out and touched it. Like it was as close to me as the computer. And it didn't just come up and get like a breath of air. Like it came up, kind of floated there for a little bit. Like its whole head was out of the water. I could see like all the scars on its nose and on its mouth from getting into ocean battles and stuff. It had
Hmm.
bunch of scars, and its head's like this big, right?
Yeah.
And it's like right there. Its eyes are out of the water, and it's looking at me, and I'm looking at it. And I was just like, "Hey, buddy." And then
Hmm.
it like floated a little bit, and then it went back underwater. And then, so long story short, these dolphins, they just kept doing that. They kept surfacing and like circling around me because then they were popping up behind me, like on every side of me. Like it must have been at least like 5 dolphins that I can tell. And there might have been more, but because I can tell that because they're going in different directions, right? Coming up and going back under. And they just kept doing that like all around me. I just got surrounded by a bunch of dolphins.
Wow.
And the other bodyboarders were like, oh, you should pet it, reach out and pet it. And I was like, I'm not touching one of these things. So like I was like, I'm cool with them being around, but I'm not gonna reach my hand out and try to touch their face. Like they got teeth. Like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's funny.
wild animals. And the really cool thing is uh I was like a little bit worried because I was like, these things are big and they're circling around me like they want to play. And
And
I
they're
was like, I don't know if
powerful.
yeah, I was like, I don't know if I really want to play like that.
Yeah.
like I don't want to play tag with you guys right now. you know, and but then the funny thing is, as soon as I was like, all right, like maybe they want to surf, like maybe they want to surf with me. I've seen them do that before, so I turned around to paddle closer to waves were breaking because I was past them, right? And as soon as I turn around and I start kicking my flippers just a little bit, like I start to kind of go towards the shore, they all just left. And I didn't think about this until afterwards. I was like, I know they're really smart. And it's like as long as I was chilling with them, they were just circling around me. And maybe they're smart enough that they got like the social cue of like, you know how when you're talking with people, you're in a conversation and you're like ready for the conversation to be over. And you kind of
Mm.
just you kind of turn away from the person who's talking to you, like you're getting ready to walk off. And if they have some social IQ,
Yeah.
they know what's going on, and they're like, all right, well, have a good day. And you're like, see you later, and you go. And I was like, did they like pick up on that? Because I turned around, I didn't violently try to leave. I just kicked my legs a couple times, just started moving in the other direction. All just took off, and that was that.
They're like, this dude's no fun at all. Like, let's get out of here.
Yeah, but it it was cool, especially seeing that they weren't doing that to the other guys on their bodyboards. It's like they just chose to hang out with me for a while, for a good 5 minutes out there, and
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
That's a cool
so
story.
got to swim with some dolphins. Like I've never been that close to a dolphin where it's like I could touch it if I wanted to, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've seen this. I've seen seals out there. I've seen a shark a couple weeks ago. That was exciting, and a sea
were you
lion.
standing up?
I was. Yeah, I was. And I don't really know fish. I was with one of my friends who's a big, I don't want to say he's a marine biologist, but he's a big into scuba diving and knowing all these fish. I said, "Hey, is my buddy's name's Dan." I said, "Hey, Dan, look at the dolphin." He's like, "Yeah, that's not a dolphin." And I'm like, "Uh-oh." And then that second fin that you talked about came out of the water. But I surfed the rest of the night. I wasn't worried, you know.
Yeah, I mean they're around, they're out there. I was asking if you were standing up because you can just see a lot better into the water if you're standing
Oh,
up.
no, no question about it. You could see, you actually, when we're out there paddle surfing, a lot of the surfers, they'll watch us and they'll know when the good waves are coming.
Right.
They'll study us and then they'll say, okay, because you can't see that good when you're real low.
Yeah, when your head is like down by the surface of the water, it's so hard to see. Um, it's funny, there's this thing that I started to do because my boards are a lot shorter than a surfboard, so it's harder to sit on. You have to really get good at balancing to sit on it out there. And the whole
Mm,
board is like underwater, but your
yeah.
torso is up out of the water. So it's something that I do sometimes. A wave is coming in, but it's just like it's like I'm gonna go over it. It's just like a little lump that I'm gonna go over. What I'll do is I'll take my board and I'll make my board be straight up and down, and then I'll extend my arms like this. I'm way deep in the water, and then when the wave picks me up, I push down on my board like this, and so it makes me like kind of like as the little hills coming, it makes me pop up way out of it, and I can get like a good look of like what's coming,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
probably be, yeah. And then I'm like, but I only get it for half a second, and
Yeah,
then
you
it's like,
you
okay, I think there's
slingshot it.
some
You're
stuff
using the
coming.
energy of the wave to shoot you up. Hey, when you
Uh,
do that, are you underwater? Are you
um,
underwater holding your board and then you shoot up on it?
I'm like neck deep, so
Okay.
but it's only for a second. Like I just go down for a little bit,
Yep.
and the bottom of my board is like if this is the bottom of my board, like this much of it is underwater, and then like I go like that, and then I pop up for a little bit, and then I come back down. Um, but yeah, the cool thing about like seeing those animals, I saw a seal that same day too. When I came in, there was a seal that was like in 3 feet of water that was swimming around. I saw it in a wave, like a little wave was there, and you could see the seal swimming in the wave. I think he was
Oh,
catching
well.
fish like
Yeah.
close to the shore. Um, but I was like, wow, if I just stayed scared of what's out there in the ocean, I would have had this experience that, people fly to different places. They go to like Florida or whatever, they go to Hawaii to be to go swimming with the dolphins, and they pay some company that actually has like nets up by the ocean so the dolphins can't get out, and then you can go in there and swim with them. And I was like, how cool
Mm.
is that that I was just out there and a pod of dolphins decided to come check me out, you know? Wouldn't have happened
Yeah.
if I wasn't out there like that's where I could touch. And once I started paddling in and they left, I noticed that I was a lot further out than I expected to be, because I think I was in the end of a rip current, which is no big deal. But I noticed this because I looked at there's a breakwater to the left. When I was looking, there's a breakwater to the side of me, right? And and I use that to kind of judge how far out I am because it's like you can't tell when you're just looking at the rest of the ocean. And and after they left, I looked at the breakwater and I noticed that I was out way past it than what I usually am. And I was like, oh, like you floated like way further out here than what you expected to. I was like, that's probably why they came to check you out. They're like, what are you doing out here, bro? And
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. I was in Mexico a long time ago, and they got this thing called swim with the dolphins. And you literally aren't swimming with the dolphins. They put this life preserver over you, and you're in the water. And it's like a big, huge pool, and you're in the water, and then all of a sudden two dolphins come up and they grab your feet and they just fly. You're shooting through the water like Superman. They pick you right up, you're right, just like you're surfing. And then you get to the edge of the pool and they just drop you right down.
they pick you up,
Yeah, they
like the
literally
dolphins
the dolphins come by, they catch you, they catch your feet, and they
with
pick you
what
right up.
though? Their fin, like their little arm fin.
Yeah, and they just fly you right through the water. It's amazing. Now,
Wow.
I think that's, you know what I mean? I think that's how they grab you.
Right. It's like you don't know.
I have no idea, but when I did it, I was like, God, I think I was in my 20s. I was like, holy cow, the force. When a dolphin hits you, like when you feel that punch, like if like people get attacked with sharks, man,
Yeah.
that force is so great because when it gets you, when it hits you, like you just catapult right out of the water.
Yeah. That's the same day that I saw these dolphins when I arrived at the beach before I even got in the water. I was looking at the breaking waves and I saw one just totally a dolphin totally like air out of the water right behind a set that was coming in and just looking at the whole thing, it's just like 7 feet long of just solid muscle,
It's
like
unbelievable. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, what
but
a
like
life.
kind of going to mindset though, like I came out of the water and I was like showering. They had a little shower station outside there at the beach so you can wash your wetsuit and all this stuff off. And I was doing that, and the two guys that were on the body boards next to me were there too. And some other surfer that I didn't see out there, but that they knew was like coming in, or he was around too. And they were chatting and they were like, "Hey, you should have seen this guy. He was out there just hanging out with dolphins." And the other surfer was like, "No way." And then I tell him the story, and then man, he's like, that's crazy. He's like, dude, that doesn't happen often. And this guy was like an older surfer. You can tell he's been doing this for a while, right?
Really, huh?
He's like an older dude, like totally ripped, like shredded, like he just surfs all the freaking time, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, he's like, that's like once in a lifetime thing. That doesn't happen all the time. He's like, you must have like some like really good vibes or good energy. And it wasn't until I was leaving that I realized I was like, man, if I would have stayed scared of what's out here and not like face my fears like months ago, I wouldn't have been able to have like this experience, with
Yeah.
all the critters out here and be able to have this thing to remember and the story to be able to tell other people. And
Yeah. And now you're the dolphin whisperer. Uh, it's pretty wild.
um that I
Yeah,
am,
those experiences you got to hang on to because and you don't even realize when you're in them.
right.
And it could go another 10, 20 years before that happens again, if it happens again.
Exactly. And the whole thing with mindset, a lot of us we use mindset to like for transformation, right? Because we want, and like a different experience in life. Maybe it's growing our business, maybe it's having a better relationship, maybe it's getting into shape. But we see that this transformation, whatever it is the vehicle that's going to get us to the destination that we want, right?
Mm.
Maybe you want to grow a business because you want to be able to make more money, and you want to make more money because you want to be able to have more freedom of your time, be able to go do things like go to the beach on Friday morning and swim with dolphins instead of like be stuck in an office or whatever it is, right?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. And as soon as
and
Ron got the fear out of him, as soon as he got rid of the fear, he experienced something totally amazing.
right,
And
and something that
sometimes,
I would have been. Don't get me wrong, I was a little bit afraid when I was out there because I was like, I'm realizing how not in control of the situation I was. Like there's like whatever happens out here, it's just whatever's gonna happen. Like, and
yeah,
there's nothing you can do about it, you know. So that part was still a little bit scary, but like also realizing that like sometimes I've been so stuck in trying to transform my life a certain way that I don't give myself the time to just enjoy life as it's happening. And so one of the things that was really cool out there is that like for those few minutes I wasn't out there bodyboarding because I still do it when I'm trying to bodyboard. I'm like, all right, you're going to catch this next wave and you're going to try to do this move because this is the thing that you're working on. And like, but for that moment I was just existing, just there, and just experiencing what the universe had to offer me in that moment, you know. And it wasn't until afterwards that I realized like those are the actual moments that I'm seeking all the time when I'm trying to get some transformation or do something. And uh and that's what was really cool, and kind of tying that back into fear. It's like when I move into discomfort on purpose, I end up experiencing these moments where I'm like just deep in the moment. Like once the fear is dissipated and then I'm just
mm,
doing this thing, it usually leads to those moments of connectedness and gratefulness for like the journey to get there.
right. Yeah. I remember probably the first time I met you, maybe not the first time, but um, when you said, "Hey, Bri, you got to do one of these mindset videos, and then you have to post it online." Remember, you made a challenge for me, and
Yeah.
honestly, I made a video, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" And I did it. I pressed it just because you challenged me to do it, and there it goes out to the YouTube world, and I was like freaking out. As a matter of
Yeah,
fact, I
right?
think
Like
I called you. I think I called it. Hey, Ron, you got to take that thing off.
yeah. Yeah, like you thought like somebody hit some like nuclear launch codes and the world
Yeah.
was about
Oh
to
my
end.
God. I'm like, Ron, please take it off. Take it off. You're like, it's gonna be okay. Yeah. So, facing your fears, and then now it's just like child's play, right?
Yeah. It's like
And we're
just
even doing
talking.
podcasts, it's like it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
Um
that's how I think that's how you grow in life. Once you face your fears, and then after, now you go out there and you're like, oh, this is nothing. I'm out here, however that is, just like I'm still out there surfing. Yeah, are there sharks out there? Absolutely. Do you see them all the time? No, thank God.
yeah,
But it's just a way of life. You face those fears. Do something that scares you. And when you
right.
get past it, you're gonna grow. I promise you.
And I think one of the biggest fears that we have, and usually I don't make blanket statements like this, but I think that you guys can agree with this. One of the biggest fears that we have as human beings, other than public speaking, and this might actually tie into public speaking, but it's fear of the unknown, fear of not knowing what's going to happen.
Mm,
And I know me being afraid of being out in deep ocean water was that I'm afraid of what could be there. I'm like, I don't know. And it's like being afraid of posting a video about mindset. But what's going to
Yeah.
happen? Who's going to see this video and what are they going to think? There's so many possibilities.
Yeah.
It's like fear of the unknown, you know? And I've found that the unknown, the space where I don't know what's going to happen, that's where like all of the magic is in life. That's when you can have this true variety, that this richness of experience that you don't expect. And it's all right there in the unknown.
Mm. Love that, Ron. It's like you're part of your own movie, you know?
Yeah.
And when you look at it that way, I'm the star of my movie. It changes everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's up to you what kind of movie it's going to be. Is it going to be a sad, tragic tale? Is it
Ah,
going to be a
bummer. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like I made a movie. My movie for a while was a sad, tragic tale of this like dope fiend that everything goes wrong for him, but he's really creating it. He doesn't understand
Mm,
it or realize it, and like it's a just a tragic tale, right? But then it turned around in the movie. I changed the genre of the movie, and then it became a tale of like of triumph and overcoming, because it's like actually what you thought was going to be the end of the movie wasn't the end. It was actually just this challenge that now is this other person. And the cool thing about realizing that you are the star in your own movie, and you always have been, is that you can change the genre of the movie at any time. At
mm.
least for me, that's I
Yeah,
find that
yeah,
super empowering.
yeah. Well, just make a decision, right? Decide to change the movie if you're not happy in it.
Right. That's it. How would
Yeah.
you say? How would you say what that somebody wants to do that, and they're like, well, okay, how, like, what do you mean decide to? Like,
Just decide to, yeah. Well, if you don't like the movie you're in, let's just say, because if you're thinking about changing the movie, obviously you don't like the life you're living. So okay, so what what are you thinking of? What is it that you're thinking? Like, I don't like this movie. Okay, well, what movie would you like? So what question can you ask that would say, okay, I want to change my life? Okay, well, what do you want to change? Maybe it's your fitness level. Maybe it's your relationship. Maybe it's your job, right? Maybe it's your company. Maybe you don't want to own a company. But what is it? Ask questions. How can I change it? What
mm,
can I do? What am I visualizing? If something you don't like in your life, well, what is the thing you want? That's how you
right.
decide.
And I think that even I think that that's great. That's gold. Um, and to break that down even further, once you decide what it is that you want, a question, because this is all based off of questions that we can ask ourselves. A question that I love to ask myself, and that I love to ask clients too when they declare what their goal is to me. As I say, okay, great. So that's what you want. What's something that you can do right now that will get you moving in that direction?
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Get the momentum going.
What's
Take the
something that you
first
can
step.
do right now, no matter how small? And it's
Hmm.
like, and then when the answer comes, do it. Like, okay.
Yeah.
Because to me, I know when I've made a decision is not made from making up my mind. This is my perspective. It's not made from me like mentally, like being like, oh, okay, this one. And then I don't change anything that I'm doing with my physical body. Like a decision is made when I think, okay, this, and then it gets coupled with action. That's how I know
Yeah.
I've decided, because I
Yeah.
did physically did something.
So think of what you want and act on it immediately. Act on,
That's
even if it's a little thing, even as simple as making a phone call.
a great example. You posted a video.
Yeah.
You made a video. You did it. You made the video. You posted it. You freaked out the whole time, even afterwards. And now we're
Yeah.
here a year and a half later on a
Yeah.
podcast that we co-host together, right?
I know. It's nuts.
Yeah, you made a decision,
Right on.
and that was because you said, "I want to be able to help people with mindset and share the things that I know."
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, this is how you do that. This is, and then you said, okay, and you made a decision, and here we are.
Yeah, it's exactly, and I think what happens too, Ron, is, you've been blessed with such a good life, no matter where you come from, even yourself, you've been blessed with such a good life. You just want to share it and say, hey, this is you know, just take the match and light it yourself. You've got this, and there's no
Yeah,
more, there's no better reward than to helping others.
absolutely, absolutely. So on that note, I think
Yeah.
I hope that this episode was helpful for any of you. If you have some fears towards anything that you want to do, you're like, hey, I want to do this thing. I have this big goal. And most of the time we know what it is that we have to do to
Mm,
achieve what it is that we want to achieve. We know, like, hey, if you want to grow a business, and you want customers, you got to reach out to them. You got to communicate with them. And we're like, oh, what happens when they say no? What happens when I make these cold calls and people cuss me out for calling them? What happens with fear of the unknown? We're like, I don't know what's going to happen, and we feel this fear, and then we don't do the thing that we know we need to do.
yeah.
Um, so hopefully, this episode gives you permission to step into the unknown and do the thing that you know that you need to do.
Hmm.
That's it. That's all I got.
Love it, Ron. Great job.
All right. If you guys found this helpful, let us know. Share it with somebody that you think would help. Actually, like that's like if you want to support this podcast, that's the best thing that you can do. Share it with somebody that you think it's going to help. Um, yeah, and consider subscribing if you like it. If you don't like it, don't subscribe. I don't know how you made it to this part of the video, not liking
Yeah.
it because it's the end, but it's
Someone
up to you.
tortured them. They lost a bet.
Yeah, and we'll see you guys next week. See ya.